Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Hey, greetings. Michael DDA here. We are continuing our journey through Torah, going down the rabbit hole, as we say. You know, there's a lot of things that I'm going to give you that are contrary to the doctrines and traditions of men that most of us have accepted as true. We have learned lies, worthless and unprofitable things. And the only way we can get to the truth is to learn Yehovah's words, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. Oh my goodness, there's just so much that we have accepted as true. Well, let's talk about where we're at today. It was in the 11th month of the 40th year. We're in the 40th year right now. We're just finishing the 40th year. We're going to go into Israel, take on Jericho in the first month, the 41st month after we left Egypt. But it was in the 11th month. No, it was in the first month of the 40th year. Like I said, we're in that right now. That's where Miriam died. That's where we came from the wilderness back to Kadesh Barnea. And we stayed there for 5 months, 6 months. She died. We mourned. 4 months later, in the 5th month, Aaron died. And we mourned for him for a whole month. And then we began our campaign against Sihon, king of the Amorites, and Og, king of Bashan. Took several months. And when we were done, we came back here. Let me show you where we're at right now. Here it is. All right, here we are. We're at the top of the Dead Sea. See where it says Abel Shittim and Beth Yeshimot? We're camped in this area before Beth Baal Peor. Remember, Baal Peor. One of the things that happened when we finished fighting Sihon, when we finished fighting Og, was we came back here and Midian, because of Balaam, tried to trick us into following Baal Peor. They put their women, some virgins, some married women, out in front of us and enticed many of Israel's seed to go after those women. And remember, the foreign women tempt us into following their Elohim. And we ate things sacrificed to Baal Peor, kind of like Easter dinner, kind of like Christmas dinner with Baal Jesus, Baal Yeshua. You know, just because you say it in Hebrew doesn't mean he's an Elohim. He's not. We've learned lies. What does Yehovah say? He says, I'm the only Elohim you're going to have. Besides me, there is no Savior. We have learned lies. We don't know who Israel's seed is. You know, this morning when I was looking at Miriam dying in the first month, I thought to myself, how come we didn't talk about Passover in the first month? We talked about Passover in the first month when we left Egypt. We talked about Passover in the following year when we left Sinai, heading towards Canaan. Remember, we got there. The spies gave a bad report, and we didn't get to go. We ended up in the wilderness for another 38 years. So we've had a battle with Sihon, a battle with Og. Then we fought the Midianites. And remember, we cut the heads off. They call it a plague, but it appears that we cut the heads off the men who went after Baal Peor. So now we're in the 11th month, and Moses has begun speaking. Incidentally, he died. He's died 2 or 3 times in Numbers. And the last thing we saw in Yasher was Moses dying. Again, I have some doubts as to who it is that actually put Deuteronomy in with the Torah. Is it 4 books or is it 5 books? I have some serious questions about that. But let's continue. Here we are on the plain, and here is Jericho. We're right across the way from Jericho. We're going to cross probably on this path right here. Okay. 2 weeks ago, we did the 10 Commandments. Here they are right here. First one, I think one of the most important ones. Where is it? Here it is. I am Yehovah, verse 6. I am Yehovah, your Elohim. Thy Elohim. This is second person singular. I am Yehovah, thy Elohim, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim existing before my face. The Christian church believes that we are serving Elohim by following the commandments of men. Folks, we've learned lies. We're going to see it today. Look at this. We went from there last week. Here it says, now these are the commandments. Well, that's what we talked about, the 10 commandments. Now these are the commandments. And the statutes and the judgments, which he has been given us all along. That's what he's talking about. Which Yehovah, your Elohim, has commanded to teach you, that you may observe them in the land which you are crossing over to possess. Look what he says. And that you may fear Yehovah, thy Elohim. Remember, this is singular. Each talking to each Israelite individual, each Ezra man. See, we don't even know what an Ezra man is. Those are the born-again men in Yehovah's kingdom. Remember what he said to Moses was told to say to Pharaoh? Let my son, my firstborn Israel go, that he may serve me. That's who Israel is, Yehovah's firstborn, his sons. Well, look what it says, that you may fear Yehovah, your Elohim, to keep all his statutes, his commandments. I love when he says his statutes and his commandments, not their commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy grandson, all the days of thy life, and that your days may be prolonged. Then he goes on, hear, O Israel, be careful to observe. Remember, it was Shema. Here, I've got it here. It was Shema, hear and obey, and Shemer, guard. We hear his commandments and obey them, and we guard them. Some of them don't apply to us, but we still guard them because they're important. Some of them are just for priests, but we want to make sure the priests do it. Well, he goes on, and we talked about this last week. How do we love Yehovah? We love him with all our heart, our lavav. Remember, we said that was the house within the house that only Yehovah knows. With all our nefesh, our thoughts and our emotions, and with all our strength, our me'od. And it's not me'od unless we're keeping his commandments. That's faith, folks. We keep the commandments of an invisible Elohim by faith. That's what faith is. If you're not keeping his commandments, you got no faith. Well, from there, I'm going to drop down to here. Look what it says. Verse 14. You shall not go after other Elohim. The people's Elohim who are all around you. No, we don't serve their Elohim. Who are their Elohim? The lawmakers and judges that are all around us. Here, I think I just rewrote that verse. There it is. Ye shall not, I put ye. It's thou. Thou. Is this the same verse? Yeah, thou. Thou shall not go after their Elohim. The people's Elohim who are all around thee. That's what it says. Let's get it right. No, we don't follow the people's Elohim. We're going to see that again today. Well, let's continue with verse 7. This is our chapter 7. This is what we're doing today. 26 verses. It won't take long. It's actually pretty short. It says, when Yehovah, thy Elohim, brings thee into the land which thou go to possess, and has cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, then it says the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations mightier than thee. First of all, let's talk about who's thee. Who is the you? For thou shalt, what does it say? When Yehovah thy Elohim. You know, there's a lot of people who are Christian people who think that thy Elohim, that this verse applies to them. Does it? No, it doesn't apply to them. It applies to Israel's seed. Those men who have left the kingdom of their birth. We left Egypt. We kept the Passover. And now we're completely under Yehovah's jurisdictional authority. That's the thee, that's the thou that we're talking about. Sometimes it says Yehovah, your Elohim, when he's talking to us, Yahweh's Elohim, when he's talking to us as a group. But almost this entire chapter, he's talking to each man, each Ezra man, individually. Bnei Israel has Yehovah as their Elohim. Nobody else. Nobody else. Now, he's talking about Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites. Let's talk about those. They're all sons of Canaan. This is Canaan's land. But let's look at the sons of Canaan. Here they are. This is Yashar, but I've got it down here in Genesis as well. Same people. I just want you to see who we're talking about. This says Hittites. Is there a Hittite among this list? There is. It's called Ket. This isn't Hittite. This is Kettite. That's how you say it. Kettite. Here is, it says Het. And here it says Het. So these are Canaan's son. Canaan's sons. I almost said seed. No, these are Canaan's sons. Then here's the Girgashites, and here's Girgashi. Girgashite. Girgashi. Then we have the Amorites, which is Amari. There it is right there, Amari. We have a Hivite, and that is Hivi. Down here, Hivite. But look at what they did. They put, and the Canaanites. They're all Canaanites. What are they talking about? That makes no sense. Then they say Jebusites. What's a Jebusite? Well, we've already mentioned the Jebusites because look what it says here in Genesis 10. It says, Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Het, the Jebusites. Ket, the Kittites, are the Jebusites. They're saying it twice. Makes you think, doesn't it? Then we got this word parasites. I always think of parasites. Infestations in the land. These are strangers to Canaan's seed who are living in the land. Here, let me show you. This is Moorish Bible Dictionary. I found this in long time ago. One of the ancient nations in Palestine. See, he calls it an ancient nation. I think it's just a group of people who have found themselves, maybe they're like aliens who came to this part of the world and just made roots. I think that's who the parasites are. But look what it says. They are several times in the only people named along with the Canaanites. So they'll say the Canaanites and the Perizzites, which would make sense because all these other guys, they're Canaanites, aren't they? You could say that even in this verse, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And you would be saying exactly the same thing because all these men, Kettites, Girgashites, Amorites, Hivites, are Canaanites. And so they give you a list of it, but it goes on. It says, though they were a great measure either driven out or slain by the Israelites, yet some dwelt with Israel's seed and intermarried with them. Yeah, when we were out of it, that's not saying that was a good thing. No, that was a bad thing that we did that. In the days of Solomon, there were those who were still in the land were made bondservants. It's not known definitely in what part of Canaan they were originally located, but Joshua 17:14 through 18, it was probably near Manasseh's lot on the west. That would be, remember, Manasseh had half the tribe of Manasseh was on the west side of the Jordan, and that would be Og's territory, or Og's previous territory, and some were on the east side. So we're talking about the west side. But it does talk about giants there where it talks about that. I'm going to read from verse 15 since 14. I guess I can read part of 14. Why have you given us, they're complaining they don't have enough land. So Joshua answered, he's talking to Joseph's seed, which was Manasseh and Ephraim. Why have you given us only one lot and one share to inherit, since we are a great people, inasmuch as Yehovah has blessed us until now? Oops, I lost it. Where'd it go? There it is. Until now. So Joshua answered them, if you are a great people, then go up to the forest country and clear out a place for yourselves there in the land of the Perizzites. So they were talking about the land of the Perizzites and the giants, since the mountains of Ephraim are too confining for you. So they're talking about Perizzites and giants in the mountains, big people. So that's what we're talking about. It says 7 great nations mightier than you. Why 7? What about the rest of the brothers? I don't know why they don't include them all. It doesn't make any sense. At any rate, let's move on to verse 2. And when Yehovah thy Elohim delivered them over to thee, and when Yehovah thy Elohim delivers them over to thee, thou shalt conquer them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy to them. What are we going to do? We're going to destroy these people. It says mercy. The word is, it's right here, katan. Katan. It talks about favor. But in the context of completely destroying them and not showing them favor, mercy is probably an okay translation, don't you think? Because it would be mercy, it would be mercy to them, but it would not be according to what Yehovah told us to do. What is? Is this going to happen again, folks? We have to ask ourselves these questions. Let's see what the rest of this verse has, or what the rest of this chapter has to say. It goes on, still talking about these people in the land. Nor shalt thou make marriages with them. It actually doesn't say marriages. Here's what it says. It says, lo katan. Lo katan. Katan is the giving in marriage. Contract. Again, it's got the idea of marriage in it. But with them isn't even part of it. But it's, I mean, you could put that in parentheses or in italics, I suppose, gray it out. But they made it like it was there. It's not there. But it's in the context, so it makes sense. It says, nor shall you katan, lo katan. No lo katan. No making covenants with these people. And then it clarifies this. You shall not give your daughter to their sons, nor take their daughter for your sons. I said, which is property, the son or the daughter? We're giving our daughter, we're taking their daughters. I think the daughter is more the property than the son, which would make sense if you look at the 10th Commandments. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thy neighbor's woman, his servant, his maidservant, his ox, or anything that is thy neighbor's. Gotta understand the different duties and responsibilities for a man in Yehovah's kingdom and the duties and responsibilities for a woman in Yehovah's kingdom. They are different. And if you treat men and women in the scriptures as equals, you're lost. You're not going to see it. Remember, even the daughters of Zelophehad, they got land because there was no brothers, no sons, but they only got to keep their land, and they didn't get to keep it. They had to marry into the tribe that was related to them. They ended up marrying their cousins, I believe it was. And the cousins got the land. But in that sense, because they're bone of their bone, flesh of their flesh. I guess it's their land as well. But it's really the cousins' land. Let's go on. Verse 4. For they will turn your sons away from following me. Hear that? We're concerned about the women who are being taken by our sons, turning our sons away from following Yehovah, because we're supposed to follow Yehovah. See, that's the duty and responsibility of a man. A man was created to serve Yehovah. A woman was created to serve her man. Bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh. My hand doesn't do something that I don't want it to do. Once we begin to understand that, now we have a basis for understanding things like what we're seeing right here. For they will turn thy sons away from following me to serve other Elohim. So the anger of Yehovah will be aroused against thee and destroy thee suddenly. We don't bring foreign women into our land. They're going to want you to keep Christmas. They're going to want you to keep Easter and serve a different Elohim besides Yehovah, our Elohim. Oh, am I making you mad? Tough. Easter is not a holiday for Yehovah's people. Passover is. And this Friday is Passover. Are you Yehovah's people or not? Do you want to remain Yehovah's people? Remember, it talks about in Numbers 9 that the man who does not keep the Passover, his sins will remain on him. And he will be kicked out from among his people. No, this is a pretty important feast. He gives us 2 times to do it, in fact. The first month and the second month. Well, it says, verse 5. But thus, he now changes. But thus, you all shall deal with them. You all shall destroy their altars. Destroy their altars. You know, the Catholic Church has a lot of altars. A lot of images. It says altars, break down their sacred pillars. We have sacred pillars in our land. Cut down their wooden images. What do we have for wooden images? Altars where animals are killed for food or burnt offerings. This is different from the brass altar, which men can bring their sin offering. Their monuments, memorial stones, phallic symbols would be the pillars that we're talking about. Then it talks about the mizpah, feminine noun meaning something set upright. The word most often refers to standing unhewn blocks of stone utilized for religious or memorial purposes. You know, this is, I know even in the property that I live on right now, the caretaker has Mother Mary in their yard. This is what we're talking about. This kind of stuff. They're Ashtoreth poles. Feminine noun, we look at it, but perhaps another Mary, Statue of Liberty, Ashtoreth. This is the kinds of things that we're talking about, getting rid of these things. And he says, burn their carved images with fire. He says, for thou, remember, this is one portion, this one verse 5 was Yah. Now we're going back to thee. For thou art a holy people to Yehovah, thy Elohim. Yehovah, thy Elohim, has chosen thee for a people. Thou art his people. A people for himself. Then he says, a special treasure. That's the segula. Above all the face of, above all the peoples on the face of the earth. Hear that? Israel's seed, the Ezra men, are Yehovah's people, his special treasure above all the peoples on the face of the earth. What about all the other people? Are they not special people? No, they're not. No, they're not. Let's read about it. We're going to see it in this chapter. For thou art, this is Deuteronomy 7. I just read it. Special treasure. Here it is right here. Segula. This is something that Yehovah is going to hold close to himself. When in Deuteronomy, Proverbs 31, it talks about a woman, special ruby, a rupee of great value, more value. How does it go? Let's look at it. Since we're talking about special treasure, I think this is appropriate. Let's go to Proverbs 31. This is about a woman of worth. Who can find a woman of worth? Her value is far above rubies. The heart of her master, her Baal. That's what we are. As a virgin, as a young man, Bakor marries Baal's a virgin, a Betula, so Yehovah Baal's his sons. That's what we're talking about. We're the special treasure. The heart of her master, her Baal, safely trusts in her, so he shall have no lack of gain. She does him good, not evil, all the days of her life. Oh, isn't that beautiful? She is the man's special treasure, his segula. Just as we are Yehovah's special treasure, his segula. It goes on in that same verse, as a man rejoices over his wife, so Yehovah will rejoice over you. Now, therefore, if you will indeed, I'm reading right here. Now, if you will indeed obey my voice, keep my commandments, this is Exodus 19, then you shall be a segula to me above all the people of the, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak to Israel's seed. Here's Malachi. He says, they shall be mine, says Yehovah of hosts. Oh, on that day that I make them a special treasure, a segula, I will spare them as a man spares his own son who serves him. Do you hear that? If Yehovah is going to spare these people, what's it saying about the rest of the people? Does it mean that they're probably not going to be spared? I would think that's exactly what we're talking about. Here, I like this. This is about the segula. Here it is right here. This is, I'm not sure who did this. It might be probably word study. A feminine noun meaning a personal possession, a special possession, property. This noun is used only 6 times, but it gives one of the most memorable depictions of Yehovah's relationship to his people. They say the Lord's relationship. Folks, you got to get out. Stop calling. Don't even use that word. Talk about Yehovah's relationship with his people so that you know exactly who we're talking about. Relationship with his people and the place established for them. This is what we're talking about. Let's go back to 7 and 7. Here we are. Yehovah did not set his love on you all, nor choose y'all, because y'all were more in number than any other people. For you were, here it is, ye were, it is talking about y'all were the fewest. Ma'at, the fewest of all the peoples. You were a tiny nation. Remember, you came from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. 70 people came into Egypt, became a mighty nation. But because Yehovah loves you, y'all, and because he would keep the oath, remember, Yehovah swears and does what he says. What Yehovah says, Yehovah does. Who keeps an oath which he swore to your fathers, Yehovah has brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed thee from the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. We are the seed. Remember Abraham, when he promised Abraham, it was all about the land and the seed, the land and the seed. Israel is the Ezrach Haaretz, the firstborn of the land. Is a good way to say that. Ezrach Haaretz. We are both. And he raised up his seed, Israel's seed, the Ezrach, and now he's going to bring us into Canaan, and he's going to give us the land, according to his oath. Therefore, know that Yehovah, thy Elohim. Oh, look what this says, you guys. I'm going to read it on the right. Follow me on the left, but I'm going to read it on the right. Therefore, know that Yehovah, thy Elohim, is the Elohim. It says the Elohim. You know, there's only like 37 places in the scriptures that actually says the Elohim. He's the Elohim on the mountain. He is the Elohim. Then it says the faithful. The faithful. There's the definite article there too. They leave it out. Oh no, they have the he is. They don't have the Elohim on the left, but they have the faithful. They translated that portion right. The El, who keeps who keeps the covenant and kindness with those who love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Notice on the left, it doesn't say to 1,000 generations. Why did they leave that off? Oh, don't you know that's been done away with? No, we're still in 1,000 generations, folks. But they hid it, didn't they? Why'd they do that? This word kindness is chesed. Remember when we talked about Yehovah's chesed? It's the same version of that. Chesed is kindness. Chesed is Yehovah's kind. Gather together my chesed, those who cut covenants with me by slaughter. He's talking about Passover, folks. He's coming back and he's gathering his seed together. He's going to raise them up in the earth. And they're going back to their land. All the other people who have died prior to them without being Yehovah's seed are going to stay dead. They're not going to be raised. The whole New Testament ideas that we have about going to heaven, oh, it's such BS. Find out what Yehovah says about the state of the dead. You'll see it. They're gone. They're not coming back. But here he says, to 1,000 generations. I'm going to read the next verse right now. You can follow along for the next verse, verse 10. And he repays those who hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack with them who hates him. He will repay him. He's talking about men. He's not talking about the ladies, but the ladies, bone of their bone, flesh of their flesh, they're going to be destroyed with them. He will repay him to his face. Here's 1,000 generations. Look what it says here in Deuteronomy 5. We talked about it 2 weeks ago when we did the 10 Commandments. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them. Talking about the other Elohim. For I, Yehovah, your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim. Probably says, thy Elohim is jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the sons. It doesn't say children, to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. I wonder if it's 1,000 generations. Wouldn't that make more sense? 1,000 generations? I didn't check it out. I'm not going to check it out now. I don't want to do that right now. We're talking about 1,000 generations right here that they're left out. What's up with that? Why are they leaving things out? Does anybody have a problem with that? Those kinds of things really bother me. I feel like we're being lied to. He repays those who hate him. Here it is. And repaying every man who hates him to his face. It's his face. We're talking about each man individually who hates him. He's going to kill him, to destroy him. He will not be slack to his haters. To his face, he will repay. Yeah, to each man's face, he will repay. Here, this is ESV. What is ESV? ESV. Hebrew interlinear. That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know why that's even coming up that way. It's so weird. Well, I forget what it is right offhand. It says, and repays to his face those who hate him. By destroying them, he will not be slack with one who hates him. He's talking about each man individually. He will repay him to his face. All right, verse 11. We're halfway through, and it's going to go faster and faster. It says, therefore, thou shalt keep the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which I command thee today to observe them. It says observe them. You know what the word is? It's a saw. It's to do them. That's what it is. To do them. To do them. A saw. To do them. Not observe them. Do them. Then it shall come to pass, because thou listened to these commandments. And see what it says. Listen to these commandments, guarded them, and did them. Listen, they had listened, guarded them, and did them. Yehovah, your Elohim, will keep with thee the covenants and the kindness. This is actually kasid. Remember that one word that we saw was not kasid when they translated it as mercy. But now it is mercy, kindness. I put, he shows kased, mercy, to his kasid. That's right. His saints. That's what they translated in the New King James, that word kasid. Gathered together my saints, those who cut covenant with me by slaughter. Let's continue. Which he swore to thy fathers. And he will love thee and bless thee and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb. Remember, the thy is the men he's talking about. You have to ask yourself, do men have wombs? Do men have wombs? Well, they do. She is he, bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh. Her womb is his womb, the fruit of thy womb, the fruit of thy land, thy grain, thy new wine, thy oil, the increase of thy cattle, the offspring of thy flocks, in the land which he swore to thy fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all peoples. All peoples. There shall not be a male or female barren. Now, I had to think about that one for a while, because we were already talking about the fruit of your womb. So he's not talking about your woman. Who's he talking about? I think he's talking about your servants. Here, look at this. He says, there shall not be a sterile, here's the word they use, akar, and va'akara. We're talking about an aved, a servant, a male servant, or a female servant. Then it talks about in the very next line, a male, female servant among you, among thee, or among thy livestock. So see, now it makes sense. The female servant, the male servant, and the behemoth are all kind of what the crop is. We're growing our gates. And Yehovah will take away from thee all sickness, and will afflict thee with none of the diseases of Egypt. It says terrible. That word's not there. The diseases of Egypt, which thou hast known, but will lay them on all those who hate thee. Hear that? He's not saying he's going to lay them on all those who hate he. He's saying he's going to lay them on all those who hate thee, Yehovah, his people. If they hate you, they're going to get the terrible diseases. I'm fighting with the city right now. Oh, they're in so much trouble and they don't know it. Silly, silly people. Look at this. This is other things that talks about keeping us healthy. Deuteronomy 7 is the one we just read. Exodus 23, 25 through 26. It says, so thou shalt serve Yehovah thy Elohim, and he will bless thy bread and thy water, and will take sickness away from the midst of thee. No one shall suffer miscarriage or be barren in thy land. I will fulfill the number of thy days. Exodus 15. And son, if thou wilt diligently heed the voice of Yehovah thy Elohim, and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments, and keep his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on thee which I have brought on the Egyptians. For I am Yehovah who heals thee. Wow. Pretty special. Verse 16. And you shall destroy all the peoples whom Yehovah thy Elohim delivers over to thee. Thy eyes shall have no pity on them, nor shall you serve their Elohim. They're lawmakers and judges. Remember what Elohim means, folks. Yehovah is the lawmaker and judge. When we have gates, we're the Elohim of our gates. The men are the Elohim of their gates. Oftentimes they talk about the Elohim of the cities that hang out in the gates. But we're talking about the Elohim of the lands. Not gonna survive. It says, nor shalt thou serve their Elohim, for that will be a snare to thee. He goes on, if thou shalt say in thy hearts, say in thy hearts. Remember the Vav, the house in the house. Yehovah knows the house in the house. Yehovah searches the heart, tests the mind, to give every man according to his deeds, according to the fruit of his actions. This is what Yehovah searches. If thou should say in thy heart, these nations are greater than I, how can I dispossess them? What do I have here? Oh, look at this. We say a lot of things in our hearts that do not agree with Yehovah's words. Folks, we've got to learn Yehovah's words and put those words in our hearts. It says he searches the hearts of a man. Oh, here, this is the verse I was just talking here. The heart is deceitful above all things, desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, Yehovah, search the heart. I test the mind to give every man, according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. What is each man's responsibility? To follow Yehovah. What's each woman's responsibility? Follow her man. It goes on. Here's a few more about the heart. This is about Eliab. Eliab was the firstborn son of Jesse. Here it says, so when they came, that he looked at Eliab and said, surely Yehovah's anointed is before him. He's a big, strong guy, strapping guy. But Yehovah said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or his physical stature. Don't let your eyes deceive you, because I have refused him. For Yehovah does not see as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but Yehovah looks at the hearts. The house in the house. He goes on. I don't know if this is the same chapter. Same chapter, just a few verses later. And Samuel said to Jesse, are all the young men here? He was wondering, well, who am I supposed to anoint? Oh, is everybody here? Then he said, there remains yet the youngest, and there he is, keeping the sheep. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Jesse's out guarding the sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, send and bring him, for we will not sit down till he comes here. So he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, with bright eyes, good looking. And Yehovah said, arise, anoint him, for this is the one. Oh, it almost brings tears to my eyes. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And look what it says. It says, and Spirit Yehovah, not Spirit Elohim, Spirit Yehovah came upon David from that day forward. You know, there's a lot of people that are talking about, oh, I've got the Spirit of God. Folks, you don't got shit. You don't. Just because you say it doesn't make it true. Here's the Spirit Yehovah is upon David. How many men in Israel have Spirit Yehovah on them? You know, there's a few people in the wilderness that Spirit Elohim came on. They were the leaders of thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders of 50s, leaders of 10s. But it didn't happen to everybody. And those are only Ezra men. And we think because we believe in Jesus that somehow we got the Spirit of Elohim working in us. Folks, you're deceived. You've got lots more to learn. Here, this is talking about Spirit Elohim. This is Spirit Yehovah, but look what it says. This is the chapter 2 of Genesis 1, or verse 2 of Genesis 1. The earth was desolate and without void, and darkness was on the face of the earth. And Spirit Elohim and Spirit Ruach Elohim was hovering over the face of the waters. Yehovah is Spirit. David got Yehovah's Spirit from that day that he was anointed by Samuel. It doesn't happen to just anybody. That's talking about the heart. Yehovah knows the heart. Yehovah searches the heart. Verse 18. You shall not be afraid of them, but thou shalt remember well that Yehovah thy Elohim, what Yehovah thy Elohim did to Pharaoh and to all Egypt. The great trials which thy eyes saw. Well, their eyes didn't see it. Maybe some of them did if they were really young, 10. The signs and wonders, the mighty hand and the outstretched arm by which Yehovah thy Elohim brought thee out. So shall Yehovah thy Elohim do to all the peoples of whom thou art afraid. Yeah, what he did to Egypt, he's going to do to all the peoples to which we are afraid. We say in our heart, they're stronger than us. Moreover, Yehovah the Elohim, verse 20, will send hornets, wasps among them until those who are left, who hide themselves from thee, are destroyed. They're going to hide from us. 21, thou shalt not be afraid of them, for Yehovah thy Elohim, look what it says. They put the great. It says, a great, Yehovah thy Elohim, a great, a terrible. You could say he is a great, a terrible El is among you. Yehovah, a great, a terrible El is among you. And Yehovah thy Elohim will drive out those nations before thee, little by little. Thou wilt be unable to destroy them at once, lest the beasts of the field become too numerous for thee. Listen to that. If we kill them too fast and take the land too quickly, we don't have enough resources, apparently, to deal with all the beasts that are in the land. Wild dogs, other kinds of animals. Lest the beasts of the field become too numerous for thee. But Yehovah thy Elohim will deliver them over to thee, and will inflict defeat upon them until they are destroyed. And he will deliver their kings into thy hands, and will destroy their names from under heaven. Destroy their names from under heaven. No one shall be able to stand against you until you have destroyed them. They're not going to be able to stand against us. Then he says, y'all shall burn the carved images of their Elohim with fire. You shall not covet the silver or gold that is on them. Now, this seems to be idols that we're talking about, idols of their images. That's what it says, carved images of their Elohim. You shall not covet the silver and gold that is on them, nor shall you take for yourselves, lest you be snared by it. It is an abomination to Yehovah your Elohim. Their images of their gods is an abomination to Yehovah thy Elohim. Nor shalt thou bring an abomination into your house. In other words, don't take the silver and gold, lest you be doomed to destruction like it. The carved images, he's telling us to destroy them with fire. Then he says, if you take them into your house, you're going to be doomed, destroyed like it. It reminds me of Achan. Talk about Achan in just a second. You shall utterly detest it and utterly abhor it. It is an accursed thing. Now, I was thinking about Achan this morning. Where was Achan? I think it was Joshua. Maybe Joshua 7. Let's look at Joshua 7 real quick. That was the last verse that we need to talk about today. But let's go to Joshua. I think it was 7. Yeah, story of Achan. Look here. Remember, he took some stuff that he wasn't supposed to. They lost against 26 guys died because of what Achan did. These are men with families. They died because of what Achan did in taking the things that he wasn't supposed to from Jericho. Remember, it said, burn everything in Jericho. So he did a lot. And it came to Judah, then it came to a family of one, this family, then it came to this family. Finally ended up coming to Achan. And here's what it said about Achan. Here's Achan speaking. When I saw among the spoils a beautiful Babylonian garment, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold weighing 50 shekels. Oh, that's a valuable piece of gold. I coveted them and took them. And there they are, hidden in the earth in the midst of my tent, with the silver under it. Well, what happened to Achan and his family? So Israel stoned him with stones. No, let's read up one more verse. So Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan, the son of Zerah, the silver, the garments, the wedge of gold, his sons, his daughters, his oxen, his donkeys, his sheep, his tent, and all that he had. And they brought them to the valley of Achor. And Joshua said, why have you troubled us? Yehovah will trouble you this day. So all Israel stoned him with stones, and they burned him with fire. There it is, burned him with fire. That's what he said he's going to do to the accursed thing. Bringing it into your house. After they had stoned them with stones. So, yeah, you know, take Yehovah, but Yehovah says seriously. This is not just a story. This is important stuff. You got to become Yehovah's people. In the future, it's going to be a whole lot easier to become Yehovah's people because we're going to be sovereign men and women. Especially men we're talking about, isn't it? It's about the men. All right. Well, we're going to stop here, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this, please give me a like. Please share it with others. I so appreciate you joining me or at least listening to this class. And we'll see you next time. Bye now.